Hey, Ed. Hi. Wonder, could you tell me about that landmass you're working on off to the west?
Yes, Valamor. Well, actually, why don't I show you?
Ed, I don't think we're in Cambridge anymore.
Welcome to Civitas Illafortis. Beautiful, isn't it?
That's great, Ed. But have you noticed we've been turned into RuneScape characters? I haven't been this slim in years.
Don't worry about that. No, really, don't.
Welcome to episode 242 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and joining with me again is Trey. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so we just covered everything that was going on in 2023, but we have like one more hot ticket item that we have to go through, and that is the Winter Summit, because the Winter Summit happened a couple weeks ago, and it's basically teeing up the... Originally, this Winter Summit was meant to like cover the next 6 months, but it doesn't really seem like it's covering the next 6 months. It's kind of like maybe the next 6 months, but then there's definitely a bunch of items that are like way beyond that 6 month mark. So anyways, this has got some really cool stuff to talk about. Can't wait, but we'll talk about that later. But right off the top, we did get some like, I was going to say breaking news, but definitely not breaking news. But a few days ago, we got some news about Jagex once again being sold to another company. So Trey, this has happened a few times now. When you see something like this, do you have any feelings or thoughts? Like, do you care at all?
I mean, I think that, I think Jagex, all they need to do if they have some corporate guys come in who are only worried about, making money and doing whatever they need to do, and they look at other video games who use microtransactions, all they have to do is they need to print out all of those surveys that we all took that, 99.9% of players said they didn't want microtransactions in the game and that they would quit if there were microtransactions, and they just need to push that, put that on the desk of whoever bought them out, and I think it should be okay. But it can be a little scary. I mean, any uncertainty is unscary, of course, but it could be the worst thing ever, and it could be the best thing ever. Honestly, I think if you want to be worried, I think the RuneScape 3 players should be a lot more worried, because I could see them just completely axing all of RuneScape 3 and sending all those resources towards old school.
It almost has like its own implications there.
Yeah.
A little scary. I think the thing is like we don't really like change in old school RuneScape, which is kind of like why we have old school RuneScape, because we just don't want change.
And we're all here because of PTSD. So yeah, I think anything with, the corporate overlords is pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I think this game is a big escape for everybody. And anytime you get a little bit of that, anytime capitalism kind of works its way into your nice little happy place, it can be scary.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about this. I'm not in the finance world. I don't really know exactly what this means. I kind of have to go to other people and hear, like, other people have to tell me what to think, basically. But yeah, basically what happened was Jagex was owned by the Carlyle Group, which is, I think it's an investment firm. And they're a public investment firm, so you could buy stocks from the Carlyle Group. And that's something I did because I was trying to get into investing. And people told me, stick to what you know. Don't listen to what other people say or like the hot stocks and stuff. Stick to what you know. Like if you're big into video games, look at some video game companies. If you're big into like music, look at music like just stick to companies that you kind of know. You're not going to really know much about investing, but at least you can know. It's just, I guess it's better just to like mess with stocks that you have more of a background in versus something you're super unfamiliar with. So anyways, I bought some Carlyle stock because I was like, oh, they own RuneScape. That can't go wrong. And it definitely did not go up. So that was not a great idea. Same with Hasbro. I bought Hasbro stocks. That didn't go up either. So Maybe I shouldn't stick to what I know. But yeah, so they got sold from the Carlyle Group, and they were bought by a private investment firm, CVC and Haveli is the company. And Jagex put out this statement. I reassure you of our commitment to our games and you, our communities. We will not compromise the integrity of our games. There are no intentions of changing our games business model. Players will remain at the heart of what we do, and we will continue to live the values that make these worlds iconic and unique. If anything, this drives us to want to do better for our players, to do more to grow the community and strengthen the universe of RuneScape further. There are some fantastic adventures ahead, and the community is going to be a huge part of that journey. So anyways, that seems like a whole lot of nothing.
Reassurance.
It seems like, yeah, reinsurance, but then also it's like, by the way, things could happen. But right now we have no plans to do that.
I mean,
anywho,
I think all this is probably the Carlyle group was the same way, and these guys are going to be the same. Where these are just corporate guys in an office somewhere who are getting, statistics from Jagex, and it's saying we're making this much money, and as long as Jagex continues to make more and more profit, I don't think that they're going. They don't know RuneScape. They're not going to come in and say, "Oh, I think that you need to change the drop rates on this." All they care about is that it's making increasingly more profit. And if they don't, then they're going to get more pushy about, well, how can we get more profit? Okay, microtransactions. But I think as long as the game continues to have good updates and to grow, that I think they're just going to let the game run as it has. I would hope.
You know what would be amazing in the absolute worst way possible? If the CEO or whoever's running that investment firm, if they had a kid who was like 17 and he was super into RuneScape, and he was like, literally, my dad owns RuneScape, so I'm gonna fucking ban you. By the way, I want like 3 Tumican Shadows right in my bank right now. Modash is like, oh my god, well, we have to.
The worst type of player buys RuneScape. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm seeing mixed things. Like I said, when Carlyle Group first got bought, I was like looking at all these papers and stuff and pretending like I understood them. I'm pretty sure I tried to go over them on the podcast, and I was like, I don't know. I need someone else I need to feed this into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT needs to tell me what's up. But I've seen people say that this is the best type of company you want buying Jagex, because they don't really care. They don't want to like squeeze them dry. They just want to make, they want to make consistent money. They don't want to bleed something out. So they're happy to just like sit on this for 5 years, 10 years and just like passively make income. I've heard other people say private firms are known for actually bleeding them dry and then bankrupting, taking all the money. I don't know. But it seems like most people are saying we're glad something like this bought it and Microsoft didn't, because if it was a gaming company,
oh gosh,
they would definitely try to have their hands in it.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we'll see what's up. Hopefully if the firm, or like we need to increase profits from this company, hopefully it's done in a way where it's like, let's make I don't know. I've seen people say, how awesome would it be to get a single player RuneScape game that was like offline RPG, maybe like a Souls-like game that's just set in the RuneScape universe, versus let's add MTX to old school RuneScape.
At the end of the day, just keep tuning into this podcast and we will tell you when to delete your account.
Yeah, that's right. We're really close, but we're not there yet. So.
No. Fingers on the button, but not yet.
Yeah, keep maxing and then delete it once you've maxed. Anywho, speaking of maxing, Trey, it's been like a couple weeks now since you've maxed. What's going on? Where's your head at? How you feel? Does it feel great? Or are you getting like, I don't know, are you missing the grind a bit?
It's funny. I just yesterday listened to our last episode, and it was the day.
How was it? Was it good?
Yeah, it was great. It was the day after maxing, and I was just in this, flurry of emotions, and I feel like I was kind of full of shit listening back to it, because I was just like, I'm so excited for this. So a little bit of a story about my past couple weeks post max. I do think there's kind of an important moral to this, so if you bear with me, but as you're on this long grind, if you're the type of person who your version of maxing is to kind of cut out all distractions, like never do any bossing, never do any kind of anything for fun. Like, then that's exactly what I did. Every time somebody said they wanted a raid, I'd be like, after max, I got you. Every time you want a raid, I got you. And I just had these.
You saw the raid as like negative 1 hour of XP for skilling.
I saw sleeping as negative 6 hours of XP,
Oh yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Only 6 hours too.
Well, yeah. You got to get it in where you can. But I had this huge list, and I still do have this huge list. But you start to, you look at the wiki where it has the top money makers, and you see Nex, and you see Tombs of Amasket, and so I get these dreams of solo 500 Tombs of Amasket, solo Nex. Not really, but like just I'm gonna get super rich. That's my first stop, and so yeah, that's kind of first place I went. I was like, all right, I'm locked to TOA now. And I did a few TOAs, died a few times, and it's like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. So I did a bunch of Nex masses, which is never a good thing to do. But I was at work a few days after maxing, and Mac Miller came on. If you're a fan of Mac Miller, you'll understand that it just hit me as I was listening to that. It's like, oh, I'm depressed. Like, nothing. This thing that has brought me so much joy, I've now am getting nothing from it. And that got worse and worse. And I just realized, like, it felt like if you were in a 10-year relationship and you just wake up one morning and realize, like, oh, I don't love this person anymore. And just like, what do you do with that? And so I felt like I was still logging on every day. And I was just like crawling around on the ground looking for any more dopamine I could find just from everything. I got Ranger boots. Like, that was a fun little, dopamine spike, but everything felt wrong. And yeah, it really, honestly, it led to like an existential crisis of like, why am I so obsessed with this game? What do I do with my life now? And yeah, it just got worse and worse.
You feel like you had a void.
Yeah.
That was just left inside you.
Absolutely. And like I was talking to my wife about it, and she's into reading books and stuff. And I was telling her, it's like when you finish a really good book and you feel like, what do I do now? Except like times like 100, because I've been wanting this for almost the majority of my life. And I've dedicated 5,800 hours to it. So anyways, one of the things that I had this idea for was, I called it skilling and chilling, where we were playing. I'm also obsessed with board games. And I was like, oh, I'll put together a little clan event where we play some board games while we do some skilling or whatever. And as I was getting more and more depressed, I was like, I don't want to be on RuneScape. I don't want to do this event. And I had actually, I was like, fine, I'm not going to get on RuneScape, but we'll do this little skilling and chilling night. And then I'm going to take a week off, maybe more. Like, it was just, I felt like I was at the end of my rope. But so yeah, we did, we were about to start the event, and I was like, oh, because one of the other things that's been frustrating for me since I've maxed is, I couldn't find anything AFK to do. Like people say, oh, well, what are your skilling pets? And it's like, well, I got the beaver and the heron, and the last thing I want to do post max is go straight back to shooting stars. But, so I did. I went to shooting stars during the event, and it's like, okay, this is whatever, AFK. But, we did our little skilling and chilling event. It was really great. It was really fun. And then I just felt really good. And then something just clicked in my head, and it was like, oh, this is the RuneScape that I love. The just chilling out and relaxing and doing something that's, half mindless, half idle simulator, not this high level bossing. Cause I think you hear so many people, there's like the community of people that say Tob is my favorite raid. And then when Desert Treasure 2 came out, they said Vardorvis is my favorite boss because they're these super intense, your full attention, this really big struggle, this fight. And I think there's kind of an assumption that when you get into that higher level community, that you'll start feeling that way. And I just had this realization of like, oh, that's not me. Like, that's not what I come to this game for. And I've been trying to force myself to play this certain play style that I'm just not into. Like, I like raiding and stuff, and I like to do that kind of every once in a while, but locking myself to a raid where I can never AFK, I can never relax, I can never have YouTube on the side or anything like that, is just, it's not RuneScape to me. And so I just like, it just clicked in my head, and I just had this moment of like, oh, I'm just going to go back to Slayer, because Slayer is the perfect balance of that. You know, you get like I'm on an Abyssal Demons task right now. So it's like, I can boss when I want to boss, or I can just AFK kill Abyssal Demons when I want to record a podcast. And I just felt this weight off my shoulders. And the moral of the story, I think, for everybody is just like, man, play the game you want to play. Like, don't let other people affect, like, you know, people, you know, obviously you're going to see people pull shadows, and you're going to be like, well, I guess I can't play the game until I get a shadow. Or you know, you PVM minded people who do love that. Like, don't let me with a max cape bully you into just skilling and you don't enjoy it, you know. It's just a game for fun. And yeah, so that was kind of my little journey of the past 2 weeks that really made me feel a lot better about the game and my kind of going forward post maxing.
You know, I gotta back up a little. I gotta say that skilling and chilling night was so much fun. Yeah, we just all got on. We kind of just picked random skills and just kind of AFK'd it on the side. I was pickpocketing.
No, you were killing Corp first.
I tried to kill Corp, and then I realized I can't kill Corp and play board games on the side. It's just, I remember I was playing D&D once, and you can always tell when someone's like playing RuneScape too hard, because you'd be like, all right, it's your turn. And they'd be like, huh? Oh, okay, I'll do this. No, that person's dead. Oh, I'll do this. No, they're gone. They're gone, man. That all this stuff you're referencing happened an hour ago or 45 minutes ago. What do you, where you been?
Oh, man.
But yeah, it was fun. We played King of Tokyo, which is a really fun game. And I had never played it. We played it online, by the way, and we all just hopped on Discord. And I think it kind of had two purposes for me, because we have me and my wife have a friend couple. Anyways, they like to play board games, and they came over once and brought out King of Tokyo, but we ended up like not really playing board games at all, just chalking. And I'm glad we played it, because I can now know that my wife would 100% not want to play King of Tokyo. So I can veto that one when they bring it out.
Does she not like the head-to-head combat type of games?
She's not she's not a big board gamer. She's I've been trying to get her into board games, and I got her into Uno, and her whole family fell in love with Uno. And they won't play anything else because they say every other board game is way too complicated. Now, here's the kicker. They also found Uno was starting to get a little bit boring. So they have assigned a special rule to every single number. So ones do something, threes do something. Like, they all have these special rules now. And their Uno game they play is so friggin' complicated. We have like a printed out cheat sheet that everyone gets so that you can reference it when you need to play a card. And the games last like an hour long because it's super unbalanced, and it's become like the worst nightmare. Is ironic the word? I think it's just funny. They won't play anything else, but Uno has become so complicated.
It's just what they're comfortable with.
Backing up now, though, you're feeling much better. You're saying you're in a better place now, or do you still feel like you got a void that's missing?
No, I'm excited. I've got goals again. I've got kind of more attainable goals. Like, for me right now, it's just I'm going to do Slayer. If there's a boss I can kill on Slayer, that's great. If not, then I'll do a boss. Like, if the task is the type like Necreals or something that doesn't have a boss but has a chance for the Imbued Heart or any of the Slayer collection logs, I'll go for that. And if it doesn't have either of those, if it's some random thing, I'll just skip it. So yeah, Slayer's most people's favorite skill in the game, I would say. And it is, it's such a good skill. I mean, on a complete side note, I was a fan of Artisan for the same reason, because it's just for the people who don't get into these like super heavy grinds. It's just nice to be like, all right, I'll go do this for a little bit. And then like, oh, okay, I need to go do this for a little bit. It's just so nice, especially when you realize that you can, do these boss variants of, like blue dragons and kill Vorkath and stuff. It's just, it's so fun. And now that it's like I can do whatever I want in the game, why not just like that's the thing. It's like not being like, oh, I have to do the best content or the most efficient content. I mean, that's a whole thing of RuneScape, is just like doing the most efficient thing. It's just like, no, it's just I have nothing to grind for anymore. I'm just here to have fun. And this is the most fun thing. So it's great. And it's also a much gentler way of getting the rust off of my PVM mechanics. Cause like I tried to go right back into high level TOA and just remembering what my hotkey was for my prayers, so
Yeah, true.
I just need to get back into it a little more. And yeah, I'm excited to learn the raids and to do a bunch of necks and stuff just as it comes, as the desire for it kind of works its way into me.
It's tough when there's like a piece of entertainment that like you hold so dear to yourself. Like it becomes like a major part of you, like RuneScape being one, because if something happens and you get burnt out, then yeah, I've been there where I'm like, I have this void where I sit on my computer and I go, I don't feel like playing RuneScape, but I don't know what else to do. That's normally what I do. I had the same problem. I used to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, like religiously. I would listen to every single episode. I've been listening to it since I was like pretty young. Like I think I got into it around episode 100. So really early on, I found the podcast and I was like 18 or something. But I had listened to it for like a decade religiously. Like I listened to every single episodes, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And I really enjoyed it. And I felt like it helped me a lot. Just like growing up, like navigating the, early adulthood and trying to like figure out like who I am and stuff and my morals and all that sort of, and all that stuff. But then like, the show kind of like just got a little bit. Everyone who listens to Joe Rogan or who had listened to the Joe Rogan Experience for a long time, you probably know what I'm talking about. Around when COVID hit, the show just got a little bit weird, and like he kind of changed, and now the show is just like he's become a bit of like an old man, and an angry old man in a lot of ways. And it's just like completely changed the vibe of the show that I used to like. But I felt the same way. I was like, I have to skip most episodes because it's just changed. And I had this like void. I'm like, I don't know what else to listen to. Like I listened to this dude talk to other people like thousands and thousands of hours. And I don't know what else to replace that with. Like I don't have a show that I can listen to connect with as much. And so I had this void, and it was like really hard to kind of find other shows to replace it. It took a long time and like years. It probably took me like 3 years until I stumbled across a couple other shows that I was like, okay, this kind of satisfies what I was missing. But anyways, it's tricky. It's tricky when it's a piece of media because it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's it feels a little bit weird.
Yeah, and it's hard to convey to people like, yeah, I'm depressed because of a video game, and most people are gonna be like, okay, get over it. But everybody listening to this podcast will understand what this game means to us. And
well, I'm glad you're able to kind of get out of your funk a little bit. And there's like, I think it's hard finding motivators in this game sometimes. Like there are so many motivators, but once you've completed that goal and it's gone, you're like, okay, what's next? So you got like skilling, which mostly focuses on like maxing. If you're crazy, you'll go for 200 mil, but that's pretty crazy. There's PVMers, so you have a lot of end game items to grind for, and I mean like untradables. You have like the Inferno Kate, you have the Blood Torva now. I'm sure we're going to be getting a bunch of others, but they're like these cosmetics that you have to obtain it yourself. You can't just buy it. The only way to buy it is by paying someone else to do it for you. So like PVM has that like motivator, and on top of like just gear. And then you have like the collection log, which kind of satisfies a few different areas. And that's usually a good one. Although it's like, it could be a bit tough because it's pretty much uncompletable. We have, I think it's Marnie is 30 items away from completing it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I was looking them up earlier. It's crazy. Maybe we should talk about the collection log high scores another day because it's been fun, kind of something I've been watching from time to time, and I didn't even realize Marnie was so close behind. But the difference was Marnie was like maybe number 5 on the collection log high scores for the longest time. They're number 5, but they had completed some of the hardest items. So in a way, they were ahead of the person who was in first place because once they completed the hardest items, they just moved on back to the easy items and boom, took first spot. So yeah, the collection log's pretty good. And you know, stuff like PvP. There's not a whole lot of things to actually do in PvP. It's that, funny enough, is like the only piece of content that people are doing because it's like just straight up fun. Yeah, you can make money off of it, but like, you're probably going to lose some money at first, at least.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, I always say like, oh, PvPers are a different breed. And I think, you know, that's a lot of people take that as like, oh yeah, they're like toxic or things like that. But I think in a lot of ways for me, what PvP, like you're saying, PvPers are people who log into this game and say, how do I have fun right now? And a lot of us skillers and PvMers, they log on and like, what do I have to get out of the way? But PvPers are always down to do whatever sounds fun because that's all PvP is.
Yeah, pretty much. And there is gold to be made, but it takes a while for you to get to a point where you're like, I'm going to kill other players strictly for the gold I'm going to make. I enjoy PvP, but I definitely plan to go in the negatives or break even at best. Anyways, I'm looking forward to hearing how your maxing journey like goes. Not maxing, but your post-max journey goes. It's an interesting perspective, and I think a lot of people who probably max hit that, like even like Link's Titan, the one who got 200 mil experience in all skills first. They got their final skill. They leveled up. Everyone said GZ, and then they logged off. And I don't think they've ever logged up back on since. So
yeah. Just, I mean, it's once again just taking what I was feeling and multiplying that by like 100. I can't imagine. Yeah. I hope they're doing all right.
We'll see when sailing comes out, I guess. Anyways, we do have a ton to talk about. We got the Winter Summit this year, and I thought it might be the best one, but let's take a look. All right, yeah, so we got a lot of goodies to go through. But we're first going to look at the roadmap. Then after that, they've teased a few other updates of that. They teased other things that they've been working on, but there's no actual planned date for release. Whereas the roadmap, we do have dates tied to it. So let's go through it. The first one, and this is actually already launched. It launched like a week ago or so. So January 24th, 2024, we got Scurious, the Rat King, the new entry-level PVM boss. And with it, some of the staples that they said, these are the big parts of it. You get 3 new weapons, but these weapons are meant for killing the boss. Combat experience and a new pet. Yay. They brought this new lower level PVM boss. You can find it in the Varrock sewers. It's just this Rat King. There's 3 rats like morphed together. And it's meant to be this group boss for lower levels. You know, they tried to make, what is it called? What's the spider's name?
Sarachnis.
Yeah. They tried to make Sarachnis this like mid-level group boss that lower, like that people could be introduced to PVM with. For one reason or another, it didn't really work out. One, it's just camped by a lot of players who are trying to grind the pet out. So it can be hard to find a world for a group where you can just get straight up crashed. 2, the loot like just isn't great. So I think groups have a hard time going there. And it's a little bit tougher. It's stronger than the Scurious. So like by the time your group is ready to go to Sarachnis, you're probably not too far off from actually going out and killing bandos or something.
Yeah, you'll get slapped if you go to Sarachnis and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a tough boss, whereas Scurious much more forgiving. So this is a great place for lower levels if you want to get into bossing, but you're a lower level and maybe the lower level bosses aren't very fun. You know, you have Obor and Byrophyta, but those are solo bosses, and doing bosses with other people is way more fun. So that's what this boss was meant to be. And it's pretty good. It's got some easy mechanics to deal with, but like also if you want to, like not a lot of prayer flicking, but there's prayer flicking involved and dodging stuff and, you know, this sort of stuff. It's very basic, but it's great for new players who are looking to get into PVMing. And the drops you get are not terrible, you know, a lot of rune items and stuff. So yeah, not bad at all. Trey, have you had a chance to kill this boss?
Yeah, I've done probably maybe like 50 KC there.
Nice. What are your thoughts?
I think that Scurious is perfect. I love it. I think that it's so accessible, and I think that Scurious teaches you two things. If you're new to PVM, the first thing is that if you see blue, it's magic. If you see green, it's ranged. And it won't damage you until it hits you. So you react to those two things. And unless you go to any older bosses, that is super important. And the second thing is that if you see a shadow on the ground, move out of the way. And those two mechanics can pretty much take you through almost all of Tombs of Amascut. Like those concepts are huge for getting into PVM. I love it. And the system, the way it's designed to not have these big money drops just for XP, to potentially, you know, kind of give people an alternative to the Nightmare Zone, which is amazing. I think, I love everything about it. I think that people underestimate how powerful it is to have this type of content and how big that kind of mid-level community is. And even for like me, you know, I've been doing a little bit on like an iron, and it's really cool to be like, okay, yeah, like first step is like my first PVM step will be Scurious, and I can just go really hard on that for like XP and stuff. Like that sounds like a lot of fun early on in my account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing that was mentioned is it's more of a focus on XP, not experience. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's supposed to be on par with Nightmare Zone, but something a little bit more engaging. And one of the uniques, there's really only two uniques as boss drops, and it's the spine, which is like a 1 in 33 drop, so it's pretty common. This spine can be made into a mace, short bow, or staff, so it gives you like any option for any combat style for killing this boss. It does extra damage to the boss too. And if you get duplicates, you can just turn it in for an XP lamp, which will give you 5k in combat experience. So it's really cool. I love that it's an actual training method. Usually bosses aren't seen as a training method. The other unique is the pet. So it was funny. I jumped on the morning it was released, and I was doing some before work, and I got super lucky. I got the pet on kill count 3, and then I got the spine on kill count 4. So the back-to-back green logged. Felt like too soon. I kind of felt like a way lesser version than you did when you maxed.
Yeah, just
where like I killed it and I was like, that's it.
Now what?
Well, I want to keep killing it, but there's no point. I guess I'll wait for the combat achievements to come out, and then luckily they did come out like a week later. So
yeah, when that happened, I saw you get that pet drop, and it was right when it had come out. You know, we didn't know rates or anything. So my first thought was like, oh man, maybe because this is an easier boss, it's like a 1 in 100 pet. So, you know, lower levels can get their first pet. And it came out and it's, you know, it's 1 in 3,000. So yeah, you just got super spooned. It's crazy.
Yeah, not bad. I'll take it.
Huge GZs.
Yeah, it's a cool pet. Next up, we have a new quest launching in spring 2024, and this is called The Defender of Varrock, which is pretty cool. And the 3 major points of it, listed by Jagex, is that it will be expanding the Moderate storyline. It will come with a new killable monster called Armored Zombies, and then the community decided rewards. Nice. Yeah, so we have this new quest coming out. It is a RuneScape 3 quest, so it feels like it's mostly a port over from when RuneScape 3 was designed, similar to how that glue-free quest was that came out. And yeah, same idea. They have Armored Zombies. I took a look at Armored Zombies to see, you know, what's up with them. So on RuneScape 3, they have no uniques. Yeah, they just look like zombies. They just drop like maybe slightly better loot, but loot still kind of sucks.
Hey, the thing they've been pushing is this zombie axe, which is kind of a mid-level. I want to say it's supposed to be between Dragon Scimitar and Whip, is where it slots in.
Okay.
They-
right. Yeah.
They've been tweaking it, so I can't say for sure anything specific about the stats of it, but I believe, yeah, it's supposed to bridge that gap from when you get your first Dragon Scimitar to getting super high Slayer and getting your first whip drop like it's an Iron Man.
So it feels like it really is similar to the glue-free quest we got recently where we got the Trident.
Yeah, just
Seems
kind of
very
these,
similar in spirit.
kind of this run of mid-level quests that are filling in all of their kind of gaps in the gear progression. I think, obviously both of us have been playing for a long time and we're higher levels, so it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But I think, yeah, if you come into the game fresh, it would be cool to see these just kind of incremental upgrades as you go.
Not bad. Not bad overall. Seems kind of minor, but hey, you know what? We'll take it. Quests are fun, and Defender of Varrock sounds like a cool name. Excited to see, and I guess I'm curious to know what the story is going to be about. I haven't played on RuneScape 3, but I love the idea of like a city under siege, and you need to defend Varrock.
Yeah, there's
That's kind of cool.
Like if you read their little summary of it, there's talking about, like this ancient knight Arab. It's like, okay, I know that guy has a shield. And then, it says like there's a prophecy about destruction of Varrock and you're the one who's going to like fulfill the prophecy. It's like, oh man, not to go on that whole lore tangent again, but it's like, oh, this game has cool lore.
It does have some pretty cool lore. I love how we'll have to do a lore episode.
A lore episode about how cool the lore is and how we don't know any of it.
Yeah, it's us just reading the wiki, reading books in game. Next up, also in spring 2024, we have another wilderness update coming out. So there's going to be a Chaos Temple Rejuvenation, whatever that means. Does a Chaos Temple really need to be rejuvenated? Like, what's going on here? Yeah, does it? Does the Chaos Temple need to be rejuvenated?
I'm gonna be honest. I've read their summary of what they're planning here, and I still am so confused because it sounds like they're just gonna have a bunch of NPC like pirates that are just attacking each other or attacking people, and it's supposed to add to. I honestly have no idea.
It's not the Chaos Altar. It's the Chaos Temple where it's like there's lava, and you've got the Chaos Druids there. They want to add these undead pirates. Apparently their ship is going to crash in that area. So you'll have these undead pirates that are going to be hanging out there. Yeah, they don't know if they want to bring out more uniques to tie to it or just make them like a nice juicy GP grinder. Anyways, we'll wait for them to actually bring it out before we go into details. But they want to rejuvenate the Chaos Temple, which is fine by me. The Chaos Temple is the first place I got a really big PK in this game. I was like maybe level 90. I was at the Chaos Altar and there was a dude he was doing like clue scrolls and he had full like granite on. And I remember I was like, I feel like I should leave this dude. He's just hanging out there. But then I was like, nah, I'm out here to kill something. I want to kill someone. So I killed them and they had like 3 mil worth of loot on them. And I was like, oh my gosh, awesome. I'm sure they were quite upset. So, first PK there. They want to add some more multi-combat hotspots, or at least look at them. A chivalry scroll as a new reward, and then content for all builds. This is very vague. I don't know why they add these like little tickets to the super vague, but what are your thoughts? What do you think when you hear another wilderness rejuvenation?
I mean, I think they had an amazing wilderness rejuvenation last year. I guess, once again, I'm not a huge part of that community. I mean, when they were breaking down, like one of the rewards they're proposing is these adamant seeds that are the same as mithril seeds. But I guess when you plant mithril seeds, you go in a predictable direction. So adamant seeds would make you go in the other direction. And so it would be a way to... So I guess maybe that meta has gotten stale because people can predict with the seeds where you're going to go. which is once again something I came into knowing nothing about, and I saw that and I didn't know that was a thing. And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, hey, if the PvP community wants this, then that's great. I haven't heard anything from them, good or bad, honestly. And maybe it's because it's so vague, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of always my stance is whatever the PvP community wants, they can have, as long as it doesn't, as long as it's not crazy.
Yeah, and it's tough when you have these wilderness rejuvenations. I mean, I, of course, look at the name of the podcast. I love the wilderness. I talk about it all the time. I'm not going to talk about why I love it so much, but I do. It's probably one of my favorite places in the game, and not a lot of other games have a similar area that has that vibe. Games just can't do it like RuneScape does. And but there are definitely people who see an update like this and they're thinking is like, holy shit, Jagex, why are you keep like adding stuff to try to get me to go out and get me to go into wilderness when I have no desire to even go there? So they're going to be super against it. But I do, as someone who is biased and loves it, I am very happy that it is on the minds of Jagex. They don't have plans to remove it or kill off PvP, but they're continuously trying to add more to it. And I'm all for that. I'm all for continuing to develop the wilderness. It's just, it's such a unique area. There's no other place in RuneScape that feels like it. And like I said, most games don't even go there because they're like, we don't want to have to deal with having this like PvP area where you can lose all your items. It's a full loot system. So really neat stuff. Okay, next up, we have part 1 of probably one of the biggest updates we're going to be getting this year. March 20th, 2024. Mark it on your calendars. Book the day off. That's what I need to do. I'm reminding myself right now. Varlamore, the area expansion, will be releasing. So the city of Civitas Illa Fortis is coming with it. The Fortis Coliseum PVM challenge, which is, we talked about it, but it's basically the difficulty of the Inferno, but not the length of the Inferno is kind of what I'm thinking of it as.
But also the difficulty of like the fight caves built into it, or the difficulty of like entries level Toa. So like, I just don't want people to be put off by saying the difficulty of the Inferno, because I think they've really been pushing the idea that it will be accessible if you want to run in and do like, you do like a 5-minute run as a low level, you're still going to get rewarded for it. Or you do like a fight caves difficulty run, you'll get rewarded for it. And then finally, if you want to go for broke and do the Inferno difficulty like type of run.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I love that they're making a lot of content more dynamic. So you can, there's it's got something for everyone, kind of like how Toa is, where you can adjust it to however difficulty you want.
Mm-hmm.
We're beginning the Hunter Guild, and I really hope we get that big tortoise with it, because I've been basically putting off training Hunter until this thing comes out. We'll be getting the Perilous Moons, the new dungeon Perilous Moons. We'll be getting a Dwarven City, multiple new quests, and more. And this is just the first installment. We'll talk about it in a bit, but there's a second installment coming in the summer as well. It's been interesting watching this development cycle of Xayah. I was looking at their original roadmap of Xayah for the podcast, and they're a little bit way off in terms of timelines, but overall, they're kind of sticking to what they were planning. So let's see, where is it here? So originally the content was going to be released in the summer of 2015, and this was a huge deal when Xayah was getting dropped. I remember RuneScape 3, people were like super excited about it because it's, they were seeing it as holy crap, like RuneScape, old school RuneScape's getting a whole new continent. Like we haven't even really got something like that, but they're getting this huge new continent, and it's going to be like, I saw so many comparisons of it's going to be the size, like it's like 75% the size of Gielinor or whatever. So people saw like the size of it being such a big deal. And then you had all these houses tied to it, and you could tell there's like a lot of inspiration from like Game of Thrones and all that, baked into the lore. But yeah, we got this area, and ultimately it was big, but it didn't have a whole lot going for it. But I remember the motivation for it from Jagex's end was like, they didn't want to drift too far from lore. They were kind of constrained on what they could add into old school RuneScape, depending on what RuneScape 3 did. So yeah, they weren't really able to release a whole lot of new stuff that RuneScape 3 wouldn't have had. So they thought, hey, what if we just built a new continent and we could do whatever we want on this continent because it's not in RuneScape 3. And I think the idea was, oh, it seems perfectly normal to discover a continent and then lose that information and then rediscover it again. I think that kind of happened with like North America, where I've heard where, you know, they're like, oh, Christopher Columbus discovered it, but also like Spain had discovered it, you know, however long earlier.
Or the Vikings before both of them, or the people that were already living there. But sorry, digression.
Yeah, by the way, there are already people who are just fully living here. But besides them, so yeah, anyways, they had a few installments of it, like 3 major phases. The first phase was the city of Great Karen. So that the 5 houses that we got, Port Piscalarius, Hosidius, Shazian, you know, Arceus. The other one, what's it called?
Lovikinge,
yeah. So that was the first installment. The second phase was the Paradigm of Exodus, and this was planned for June 2016, although it got pushed back almost 6 months and finally was released in January of 2017, and the name changed to Chambers of Xeric. Maybe they felt like, you know what, I bet you like one of the devs that is super into Path of Exile joined, like, we can't have a raid called PoE. People would get confused.
What was the original one?
Paradigm of Exodus.
Oh, that is kind of cool sounding though. But yeah, PoE.
It's cool, but it doesn't really sound like a raid. It sounds like it could be anything.
Okay, but to be fair, if they were paying attention to the abbreviations, would they have really called it Cox?
I mean, the amount of penis-shaped buildings we have in this game, I want to say, yeah. They probably had like something else. They probably like the I don't know. They had a different name and they changed it to Chambers of Xeric just so they could have Cox. And then phase 3, which is called the Colosseum. This was scheduled to be released in January 2017. We're seeing it come out in 2024. So, you know, just like 7 years later. They're 7 years off the mark there. That's long. That's a really long time to push something back, but it's been in the works since then. And they renamed and added a bunch of stuff, of course. And then on top of that, this was like not even really part of the phases, but this was just, it seems like it was added in afterwards, but it was Karulm and the Tasakal. This was going to be like a Fight Caves expansion, actually. Okay, so sorry, let me back up. And then we actually got like a 4th phase we got this like extra phase that snuck in, which was the Karulm and Tasakal. This was actually originally planned to launch in February 2016. It was going to be a Fight Caves expansion, but for one reason or another, probably wanting to bring out the Inferno and Moral Wreck and all that sort of stuff, they decided to bring this to Zeah instead. So we got the Kabos Lowlands, which dropped in 2019 in Mount Karulm.
And that Tascal,
anyways, yeah.
That Tascal Trials got put on the back burner until now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so we got this first new area. I don't know. How do you feel? You know, this seems to be something that they've been hyping up since for a while now, but really the hype started at the end of A Kingdom Divided when you started to see the like some of the soldiers and I guess like royalty from Varlamore show up at the end of the quest. I guess it's a spoiler, but whatever.
A spoiler for a 30-second quest.
Kingdom Divided?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking
like
about
a 3-hour.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of the new Children of the Sun one.
Yeah, I still have to do that one. But yeah, so what do you see? How are you feeling when you see something like Varlamore, a huge new area expansion?
Yeah. So the first thing about it and how they did it in the summit is they played this video that was incredible. And I think it's a good opportunity to just mention, like, we get into these digressions of thought with, especially, like we were talking about with Jagex selling, where we especially on Reddit, people just go after the mods and act like this game is just a business, but throughout the entire Winter Summit, I was just overwhelmed with these mods love this game and they care so much about it. And so yeah, when they played that video, it was Mod Ash and Mod Ed, and they're animated, and it was so cool and so fun. Walking through Varlamore and talking about it. I mean, it got me excited for it for sure. I think that it really should be called Varlamore : It's Not Like Zaya this time, because they are really taking their time to plan it out and give plenty of content for every different type of play style. I think most people are going to go straight for the Coliseum. I think the Hunter Guild sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it, I mean, there's all going to be new, smaller quests and stuff. And this is just all the part one. I'm really excited. I hope it's not horribly, debilitatingly bugged on release. I hope it's just smooth and can just be a really fun release for everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I think when you get something like this, it's not often do we get to explore a bunch, but when you get these new large area expansions, you tend to get to explore because they always have some fun goodies hiding in different corners. You might have a random shop that sells like cosmetics that you're like, oh, this is awesome. It's like with Prifdina's when they had the Elven Crown for like 250 mil at some shop.
Yeah, and I think, and that's another thing that's actually important to mention, is that Varlamore has, kind of in an RPG, you have question marks on the map. And I think that is actually really notable because if you have been playing this game since it started, you know that they have been pulling every little thing in the game. And because they have had these consistent updates and they've built up trust with the community, I think that they know that they can actually put in things without pulling every little pixel of it. And I think that's really cool. I think that it shows kind of how far Jagex has come with the community's trust. Hopefully that's not all about to go down the drain, but we won't go back on that subject.
Next up, is there anything else you want to talk about when it comes to Varlamore?
For part one, I think that's all I'm really interested in. I mean, I think the rewards are interesting. I mean, we'll see them as they come out. There's nothing super controversial or anything. I think they're all great. I'm excited for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very cool. And then in the summer, so next up we'll be queuing up the rest are all planned for the summer of 2024. We have Deadman mode. So a new season will be starting. They'll be doing bigger breaches. So breaches is something we saw in the last Deadman mode. Basically, like a rift would open and a bunch of monsters would spawn. You could basically do a bunch of PVMing. It's pretty chaotic. Sigils will be returning. So these are like the relics from leagues, but more PvP oriented. And then they'll be improving a bunch of the foundation, I guess they've built with these newer Deadman modes. So yeah, I am probably less than excited to actually participate because it's always it never goes the way I want it to go. It's always like a very painful slog. And then I give up. But I am excited for, having like Deadman season coming back. It's like, well, I think it's like the Super Bowl. I think that's tomorrow, isn't it? It's the Super Bowl for RuneScapers when they do the, not really, but it is a fun event that we all get to like watch together when it does happen and see what goes wrong. And yeah, so it's nice. I kind of like it. How do you feel about Deadman mode? I don't think you really play it, do you?
Nope. No, do
you have any plans to now that you're maxed?
You say that, and that for the first time I've ever thought, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll put a pin in it. Maybe I might have to. I'll log in for 5 minutes like I did with the leagues.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Once I get killed for the first time,
it's tough. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's really hard for the casual player, and it's definitely not meant for the casual player. But anyways, still excited. I'm glad to have this like tournament to look forward to. Okay, next up, this is another big one. I could see this actually like being a top contender for the number one spot for the next 6 months. So I don't really want to say it. You might know what I'm talking about, but I figure maybe we'll play the trailer.
Such a pathetic concept. As your heroes lie defeated, ask yourself this. Did you truly have any hope of stopping me? Power, that is all that matters. The power to claim what is rightfully mine. For I am Lord Lucian of the Marjorat, master of the 1,000 curses. Look upon my works and despair.
All right, so there you go. We are going to be finally going to be getting it. You know, people were expecting this to happen for a while now, but it's now been confirmed. While Guthix sleeps, the quest is coming to old school RuneScape. A lot of us are probably not familiar with this quest. We know it's a major quest in RuneScape 3, but I've never played it. The only thing I know about it was, so to quickly look at the history of like the timeline of Gielinor, of RuneScape. We're currently set in the 5th age, but let's back up a little bit more. The 3rd age is really where shit went crazy. It's the God Wars happened. Basically, all the gods were at war with each other. And it just destroyed, like the wilderness is the way it is today because of the 3rd age. So much war was happening there. It used to be like a huge metropolis. It was like a giant kingdom was set in the wilderness, and then it just got torched during the war. And Zeros was like, I don't know, killed off, exiled or something. Something happened to him. I can't remember. Anyways, to stop the war, Guthix basically showed up and was like, yo, y'all need to chill. And he basically like set up these like edicts, and I'm pretty sure it like banished all the gods from being physical beings on this planet. So they can like take forms as like shards, or pieces of them can like reanimate. I think we faced the shard of Saren in the Song of the Elves. So yeah, Guthix showed up and was like, y'all need to chill. He's all, the god of balance. He's all like, okay, you guys had your fun. Now we need to balance it out and have a little bit of peace. And then the 4th age happened, which was like the age of man, I'm pretty sure. So there was like a population boom. Humans kind of took over. Whereas like much more mixed races back then. Now it was just mostly humans taking over everywhere and building up cities. And then the 5th age started when the runecraft altars were discovered and people realized, oh shoot, we can make magic. And then, yeah, we can make magic by bringing these rune essence and making runes out of them, so it ended up being like this new age of all this innovation and technological advancements when people realized that magic was a thing. Then the 6th, so RuneScape 3 is set in the 6th age, I'm pretty sure. Or are they set? Did they move up an age? Are they 7th age now? I don't know. But they're at the 6th age, which happened when something happened and Guthix decided to go back to sleep. He was like, y'all, I'm tired. I'm going to go take a nap. And then he disappeared. And then all the other gods were like, yo, Gielinor's open season again. No one's telling us we can't show up anymore. Let's just, we have free range if we wanted to. I'm definitely getting a lot of details wrong. I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but this is how I remember it and know it as. I didn't do any research before this. So we'll save a lot of like asterisks from what I was saying, and we'll do a follow-up lore episode where someone can tell us how it actually happened. So anyways, I say all that to just mention this is such a big quest that it marks the end of one age and the beginning of another, in RuneScape 3 at least. And I wonder what that means for our game. So a few things that they mentioned was this is going to be a remake with an OSRS twist, which can mean anything from like a massive rework of the quest, or it could just literally have no twists or anything, because that's what they did with Next. They didn't really do anything. It's going to have tormented demons, which is where dragon claws originally come from. They're going to have new rewards. and a new prayer expansion. They're basically they have some new ideas to pitch when it comes to like a new prayers, and they actually seem cool. They're gonna have like ways to like pray to a specific god, which will do certain things. Seems much cooler than it seems much likely to come into the game than the ancient prayers. So they pitch. You're watching the Winter Summit. The trailer comes on. How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, it was such a fun reaction because they said, this is the one you've all been waiting for, and I don't know RuneScape 3, so I didn't know I was waiting for this. So the trailer comes on, and I was in Discord with a couple other guys in the clan, and I start going, "Oh, it's Raids 4, it's Raids 4," and then they show Duradel and they show Turiel dead, and I go, "Oh, it's a new Slayer rework. They're doing like a high level Slayer rework," and I just freak it out. And they said when Gothic sleeps, I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
That's cool too.
Yeah, I didn't know I was supposed to be so hyped for this, but yeah, that trailer was epic. I mean, you got some Majorat guy sounding like Thanos, and it seems it's really cool. And we were just talking on the last episode how Desert Treasure 2 felt incomplete, and I think this is supposed to be the completion of it, or at least the next step of it. And so that it seems really cool. As far as the rewards go, they pitched something with the Ruinous Powers that they just could not figure out how to make it work, and the community said no, and they just said, okay, we're not going to do this right now. And then in the meantime, somebody on Reddit, using their community's creativity, pitched this entire god alignment system, and Jagex said, like, I just love that they're not too prideful or anything to just not be like, well, we can't do that because somebody else pitched it. They saw that and they're like, yeah, man, you had a better idea than we did. And so they're going forward with this. I believe it's past the poll already. And yeah, I think it's great. I mean, when they initially went for Ruinous Powers, they quickly realized there are prayers that are at the core of this game, the protection prayers, some of the offensive prayers, that they just kept trying to fit those back into the Ruinous Powers. And I think that this concept of these kind of oscillating prayers that will exist independently from each other, will have their own separate unlocks. The possibilities are kind of endless with it, and the combinations and where they can and can't be used. Like, I think it'd be really interesting if the god alignment prayers won't work against the god that they're, like you can't use the Saradomin god alignment prayer at Commander Ziliana. Like, I think that would be really interesting. Yeah, it just kind of gets your mind going, gets your creativity going, gets you excited. I mean, it's a really cool idea, and I think that's how it should have been done from the beginning. And I love that they are not afraid to take these ideas from the community, and it doesn't feel like they're stealing them. They gave full credit to this person, and yeah, I love that that's how this game works. They have their ideas, we have our ideas, we all vote on which ideas we think are better, and that's part of what makes this game so special.
Yeah, it's like we get to create all these things, then Jagex kind of curates whether or not. I used to play a game called I shouldn't say I used to. I played it like once called Trove. Are you familiar with that MMO? It looks like Minecraft, plays a little bit like a Lego game would, I guess. And one of the parts of it is like people can create weapons and stuff that you can then achieve. And what happens is the weapons look so stupid because they just give players full creative control, which means you're going to get some really dumb looking stuff. Whereas Jagex, they'll curate it. They're going to be like, we'll pick and choose what we bring to the table. But yeah, I agree. I like that too. When it comes to like lore stuff, so you have like a religious background, but last we talked, you mentioned that you're not religious at all right now. And we'll definitely have to hear that story another day. But how do you feel about like gods when it comes to like lore? Like, does your background and like your experiences when it comes to religion, does that affect your feelings towards gods in like fantasy game?
Well, That's a really interesting question. I think absolutely it affects how I think about it, specifically now that I've left religion, and I think that part of in the briefest way possible, part of what kind of broke me from that was the idea coming to the conclusion that I believe that the concept of gods or higher beings will kind of naturally evolve out of any human society, no matter how independent it is. It's just a natural growth out of the evolution of being. When a being evolves to the level of sentience that it can realize that it is going to die, naturally the next step will be religion, because that is what prevents you from dying forever. You have life after death. So I think that gods are always will always be a part of any type of fantasy or science fiction or any kind of fiction. But I think, what's so different in RuneScape and fantasy is that we have direct powers from our gods. And I think that, not to get, it's such a huge subject, but, not to get too much into it, but, obviously a big part of people who leave religion is that they pray all these things and they never see the actual results of it. And so, yeah, I think it's so interesting in fantasy, the concept that these gods can actually exist. You can, I imagine standing there and you're praying to a god, and then a little thing pops up above your head that prevents you from taking melee damage. But you see the direct results of these gods, but you're still living in this world. And I think, God, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to say it in the briefest way as possible. But yeah, I think it's super interesting. And I know that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe in RS3, kind of what you're talking about with the lore, I believe Guthix is actually present in the world there.
Yeah, and you can fight Zamorak, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They're physical beings you could go and drink a beer with. Not actually, but they're physical beings. Zamorak became a god because he killed, I think that's what happened. He killed Zeros, didn't it? So Zeros didn't get exiled. I think Zamorak, who was a general in the Zerosian Empire, I think pretty sure he killed him. And then he was able to consume his powers. So there's a rule, there's these rules that work in godhood in this game.
Yeah. Well, and I think kind of the point I was getting at is that the first thing that people do in fiction when they have gods being a part of their story is that they have a way that the gods directly interact with the characters, because that as human beings on Earth, that is the deepest desire of our heart, is to have something that just proves 100% that there is a God and which God it is and stuff like that. Because every religion, in my opinion, every religion has pretty much no direct contact with their God. And that's kind of part of what broke me away from religion, But yeah, I love talking about this stuff, but I can talk about it forever. So I won't go too much into it.
Do you have do you tend to or dislike gods more because of your experiences with religion?
Yeah, no, I think I do. I have seen both sides of it. I think I used to get kind of part of it is I would get nervous because I felt like I wasn't, it's other gods, back when I was a part of Christianity, and the other,
feel uncomfortable, you're not supposed to.
I get a little uncomfortable, and I would also get really uncomfortable when you read Stephen King books where the religious characters are always secretly terrible people and feel unrealistic. And so obviously, since I'm on the other side of it now, I'm a lot more comfortable with that. But yeah, I do. I love the theory crafting I love religion. I love the study of religion. I think it's super interesting. And yeah, in fantasy, I love it just as much. But it's definitely colored by my past.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, I always find gods and stuff to be interesting, but I find when fantasy, when you introduce them as physical beings, that's where that's where I'm starting to disconnect a little bit more. Cause it's just, I don't understand the rule set. I don't know, what does that mean when a god can just walk around and go to a Walmart and buy some clothes or something?
Yeah.
How do gods you know what I mean? I start asking more questions, where when it's just this entity that might exist on a spiritual level, even if it can still with D&D, I like when my gods are not, you can't physically touch them, but they exist in like a more spiritual way, but they can still do stuff. So like, you know, if a god wanted to summon something or like influence the whatever it is, like if they wanted to do some real world impact, they could, but they're not physical beings. Because I think I start like not believing it as much. What do they call it? Virilis similitude.
I know what word you're saying. I don't know if I could define it very well.
You know, it's fake. It's fiction, but the rules set allow you to like suspend your belief and pretend like it's a real place. Something like maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but anyways, I am quite excited. RuneScape does have the god system that I'm like not less into, but I think for me, it just needs to be explained to me so that I understand and I believe it. It's like, oh yeah, the gods can exist. Here are the rules set on how they exist. And then if it makes sense, I go, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think just for a lot of people, it kind of, because when Runist Powers, they kind of gave up on it. I think they said, you know, we're just putting it on the back shelf. We might bring it out later. And I think it's always, I don't think they can ever just have an entirely new prayer book like they can with a spell book. I think just those base protection prayers are so integral to it. And so I think for me, it was just a relief of like, okay, this is the direction we're going with this. And you think about how that god system would work, where let's say it's 1 or even like up to 3 prayers for each of the god alignments. That's just so much more manageable. I mean, you can take it 1 god at a time and 1 to 3 prayers at a time and really hone those and make those good. And then, you know, you can kind of treat the gods like spell books, where I feel like Guthix would probably be kind of like Lunars, where it will probably be more focused on like maybe skilling. So that sounds kind of fun. And yeah, like, I just think it feels a lot like, honestly, like safer, but also more open to, you know, possibility and creativity. So I'm excited.
And I guess the last thing to mention here is that, you know, I mentioned at the top that RuneScape 3 has these tormented demons that drop dragon claws. We already have dragon claws. They come from Chambers of Xeric. But they want to bring tormented demons into old school RuneScape, even though from my understanding, tormented demons are like the demonic gorillas we have are very similar to tormented demons. It was supposed to be like our version of them, but anyways, they still want to bring them in. So sure. But they're trying to figure out like, what do we do with the dragon claws now? Do we take them off the Chambers of Xeric drop table and add them to the tormented demons? I think a poll recently came out. Trey, do you know what happened there?
Yes, thankfully that failed. And so they're not going to have dragon claws, and I guess they're going to just have to come up with a new reward for that.
So you were against dragon claws from being added onto there?
I mean, you know, as with all of this stuff, it's so undefined, and so I can't. But I guess I'm basing it off of what my understanding of what they were saying was, and the concept of something like dragon claws dropping from something like demonic gorillas seemed like unhinged, and yeah, I feel like if they had done that, dragon claws would have been 15 mil within, you know, a couple years, and I hate to see items like that lose their value, and caveat, I have not done enough Chambers of Xeric. I know that Chambers of Xeric is known for having really rare purples, and it has a ton of them. So if that's people's kind of approach to it, I understand that. And maybe Tormented Demons would have been like, or will be like super difficult, but they don't feel like it's not like a singular boss, you know, like Vorkath. It's like Tormented Demons. So you get the feeling you can kind of, you know, kill them pretty easy, or, you know, kill a bunch of them at a time. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess if it was a 1 in 5,000 drop, maybe, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I guess maybe the answer is boss. It just seems like every time we have something like that, it goes down in price pretty steadily and consistently.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I felt about it. Like, I was split similarly. Like, Chambers of Xeric, I don't like that Chambers of Xeric has dragon items on it. It just doesn't seem to fit thematically. Dragon items always comes from just like random things. Just weird to throw it on like a drop table. And they've actually we used to have the dragon short sword, or I think we had knives too. And then We had the harpoon, what came from Chambers of Zarek, and they eventually removed all of those because they were like, yeah, it could come from other spots. So at first I was like, yeah, let's remove it from Chambers of Zarek, make all the other items more unique, and then burn on the Tormented Demons. Now the problem is, you already touched on it. It's going to drop down in price, probably. Or it won't drop down in price, but that means it's going to be like a 1 out of 25,000 drop. Like it's going to be something stupid. I hate the rarity of some of these items. I don't mind like them being rare, but expect me to kill this thing 5,000 times to get this unique. It just seems like toxic as hell. Like that. I'm sorry. I feel like I get resentment when they do stuff like that because it's like, you don't respect my time. Like you want me to kill something 5,000 times. Do you even know how long that would take and how boring that becomes? Like that. No respect for my time. Yeah. Tell me to go grind this stupid item. I don't mind if like you have to do 100 Chambers of Zarek to get like a purple. That is long as well. And it's just like also disrespectful to my time, but doing something 100 times over 5,000 times, even if one thing's, I don't know, it just feels different. Anyway, so I wasn't really, I don't think I voted at all, so I wasn't really sure how I felt about it, but yeah. Which kind of brings us, it doesn't really bring us, but I don't think there's really much more to talk about with While Gothic Sleeps right now. So we're now at the final installment, which is, it's a part 2er. Varlamore Part 2. So similar to like Forestry Part 2, this is just adding a bunch of stuff that I guess they won't have time to add in Varlamore Part 1. So area expansion continues, they say. There's going to be a new Island of Alderaan, which is cool. There's going to be a Herblore activity. Hailstorm Mountain. That sounds dangerous. A new group boss. All right, I'm down. And then even more new quests. So all great stuff there. Trey, anything you wanted to mention about part 2 of this Varlamore?
Absolutely. Okay, so do you ever have those things like kind of puzzles in your mind that as you the more you think about it, you think about the pros and cons of something, and it just works its way, and it just twists in your mind so much, and you just get like a headache from how you can't decide like decision on something, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, I need you to help me with this because they talked about this new Herblore training method for part 2 of Varlamore, and that's pretty much all they've said. And I cannot rectify in my mind how I feel about this because I'm so nervous for this. Because if you think about Herblore, like, so we'll say for the sake of argument that this is going to be some sort of like Wintertodt Herblore where there's no resources input into it and no resources output out of it. It may be some random loot, but you get Herblore XP. And you think about Herblore and the path that it takes from a seed to a potion, right? Like the seeds are on drop tables. Seeds are, you get them from master farmers. So they're involved with PVM, with Slayer, with pickpocketing, with thieving. And then you take your seed and you plant it and you farm it. And herb runs are one of the most popular ways of training farming and is profit for lower levels. And then you sell them and they have to be processed. And I think a lot of that happens from bots, or you can do the lunar spells, or I believe there's someone in Narda who can take your grimy potions, ungrimy them, put them into unfinished potions. And then you get the secondary ingredients. You make the potion, right? And you get a ton of Herblore. That's what the majority of your Herblore XP is from making these potions. And then you either sell them or you use them in combat, right? And they're super necessary for high level combat. You know, you get your brews, your restores. Anyways, that entire path of events, I'm so worried if they put something and just jam it right into the middle of that doesn't use herbs in the same way or outputs more potions or anything like that, that it'll just screw up. It'll just be a monkey wrench in that whole chain of events that's kind of integral to the game. So that's just been this thing that's twisting in my mind the past couple of weeks ever since the summit. And I don't...
You're worried it might like disrupt the Herblore skill.
Yes. And saying all of that, I also believe we need a better way of training Herblore because it sucks the way it is now. You lose 60 mil and you're just bank standing. So yeah, I don't know how to rectify that. And maybe people who are better at math than I am can break it down. But yeah, I feel like in my mind, I end up just coming to the conclusion that it should be a mini game where you bring your own herbs and you get the exact same output of potions from those herbs as you brought in. And then it kind of sounds stupid, except that it would be training herb lore more fun. And the other problem is they can't really boost the XP rate either, because herb lore XP rates are already like 300K an hour. So this is the problem I bring to you that I have no answer for.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like, I think if Guardians of the Rift is pretty cool in some ways. It has become, Guardians of the Rift is like a mixed bag, I think. It has become like the way to train runecrafting. I think that's like how everyone trains runecrafting now. It's fun and you make money and yada, yada, yada. But what I like about it compared to Wintertodt and Temperos and Hollowed Sepulchre, man, that's not a good one, but I like that you're not like, you kind of are, but it's not just like this container of like, yeah, go into this little hub to train Guardians of the Rift, or go to this little hub where you're like segregated from the rest of the game, where you can just like plug away and train your fire making or train your fishing or train your rune crafting. I like how Guardians of the Rift has you going to like actual physical altars, and then there's a bunch of times where like I remember I was doing like a clue scroll and I had to go to like the death altar or something, and then all of a sudden all these people started running in, and I was like, oh shit, awesome. I'm on a Guardians of the Rift world. That's funny. Yeah, it's hilarious, and it's a bit like, what the hell's going on here? That being said, it's like super accessible. It's like level 30, I think, to do it. Mm-hmm. So I guess you do have to do some rune crafting before you can jump into it, but like, yeah, the thing I don't like is I don't like when. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not helping you because I'm not sure either.
I think that's where it comes down to, because the only outcome that I really would want is to have herb lore be a break even skill instead of this. I mean, I believe when I got 99 herb lore, it was a loss of between like 160 mil. And that's with nothing to show for it besides 99 herb lore, because that's even selling back the potions. So I would love, but as far as, I mean, and they can do a skilling outfit, a herb lore pet, I guess that would be cool. And other than that, I don't really know. I guess my biggest thing is I just hope that I just want, you have to bring your own herbs or some sort of comparable thing, because if you make the demand for herbs go down more than it already has because of the influx of seeds from PVM, I just really worry about, that entire community that of the PVM and the farming and all of that. It's just,
yeah.
So
I like what you mentioned, where it's like creating a potion's a journey and it starts at farming or combat, even for the secondaries. But yeah, I like how it's a bit of a journey. That seems really cool. And it's not fun to train herb lore, but at the same time, like, I always thought the way herb lore is meant to be trained was like passively. You do herb lore because you got a bunch of herbs in your bank and you've picked up secondaries from farming, and just like you just get them passively. And so it becomes like free experience, and you're doing it because you need the potions, but then you get experience with it. So that's kind of nice.
I think you're describing an Iron Man.
It's an Iron Man, yeah. But at the same time, when you need to level up herb lore, it sounds like the worst thing ever. As you mentioned, it's really expensive, and bank standing, AFKing a skill is not fun to do. But at the same time, it's nice to have AFK skills, so you don't want it to fully replace it, kind of like what you mentioned, but also understanding that not everyone has the luxury of like working from home like I do. So when I'm AFKing a skill and I'm like able to work on the side or whatever, some people are like, the only chance to train that skills on mobile when they're like watching TV or maybe with some downtime with their kids. And last thing you want to do is like AFK something. That's not fun at all. So I think every skill needs to have some fun way of doing it. My worry is that it's going to come out and it feels like Wintertodt was a template for skilling activities where they just like slightly change a bunch of things, but ultimately like every skill has the same, Temperos, Wintertodt, Guardians of the Rift. You all start off like passively mining a rock, fishing an area, collecting fish, or wood cutting a bunch of sticks. And then you take those resources and you do something else with them. So Guardians of the Rift, you chisel them down and then turn them into runes. Temperos, you cook them and then you place them in this gun. Wintertodt, you fletch them and put them in the brazier. And then like that's how you like damage. But it's like, so like they're all different, but it seems like they have like a template that they just like put it, it's blank. And they're like, okay, so how do you start this off? Let's start off by you have to like farm a patch. You have to farm a patch and you get these like new herbs. And then you got to take the herbs and then you got to make them into potions. And then you got to grab the potions and then you throw them at this boss and it explodes and hurts the boss. And then when the boss goes down, then you can actually go do some more damage to it. Like it's very, if that's how it is, it's going to feel like another reskin of Wintertodt. Like even Zolcano is kind of like very similar in spirit to like Wintertodt. And that's where I've also started not liking it because I've realized it's like a template. And then it's hard for me to do Guardians of the Rift and realize that like, oh, I'm just doing this. It's reskinned Wintertodt in some ways, but
The image that I have in my head would be something where you have kind of like a 3-level thing and you drop all your ingredients in the top of it. And then you have to, it's like some kind of mad scientist lab where you're running through and maybe there's like electricity blowing up and you have to dodge it. And it's almost like 3 levels of kind of like a sepulcher with maybe some kind of puzzly things. You have to step on these things every time. And then you work your way down to the bottom where your potions come out fully made, and whatever that transfers to from herbs to potions, I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be my pitch if I had to come up with something off the top of my head.
I just hope it's innovative, but
yeah,
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Definitely something that we'll talk about when it comes out. But
sorry for my rant.
Yeah, this is the hard part. No, I do get it because I think everything needs to be fun, but I want it to be different. I don't want it to feel like another Wintertodt because we've got a bunch of those already. And those are okay. I love Temperos. I do like Guardians of the Rift, but I also like Wintertodt. But I know at a point I'm going to be like, oh my God, another one of these. Like sometimes that you can tell they come up with a good idea and they just like reskin it a bunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, all right, let's do something a little bit different this time. All right, but there's Varlamore. Really exciting 6 months for sure. And then we got RuneFest coming out, which is going to tee up another year of it as well. So I don't know if they're going to be doing RuneFests and summits, but we'll have to see. But banger of a 6 months so far. But there's 2 other major things that I got really excited about. And to be honest, these 2 things might have superseded my excitement of Varlamore and Wild Gothic Sleeps. I don't know. I definitely feel like it's up there, and maybe I'm just crazy about it, but it mostly has to do with the client, the in-game client that they're working on. So there's no release date for this yet, but these are what they're working on, and they're going to be sharing much more details once they get there. So the first thing is there is an official HD version of the game in the works. They first mentioned this when 117, when the 117 plugin came out for RuneLite, which was like this new overhaul of the graphics. And by the way, it looks amazing. I love it. Play with it on all the time. It looks so good. And they tried shutting it down. There was a huge controversy because they tried to say, no, 117, you cannot do this. And they said the reason why they were trying to block it was because they're working on their own HD client and they don't want to like have competition. Basically, it's their game. They're making their own HD. They don't want people like getting in the way of that. But myself was like, that's really cool if they're making their own HD, but like at the same time, are they actually doing it? How far out are we? I had a lot of questions. Eventually, they revoked their banning of 117's plugin and they let it come out, obviously. But today, yeah, they said they're actually working on the official HD, and they shared like progress pictures of like what the things are kind of looking like. So they said these are both things that we're going to be talking about right now are going to be releasing in 2024, which is even crazier that we're going to get an HD client. But man, look at the video online. Just look up HD OSRS. It looks awesome. It looks like 117, but way better. The lighting looks good. The graphics have always been a pain point for me. Trey, how have you felt about the graphics? A lot of people love the graphics. They love the charm of it. I'm not like one of those people at all, but I can definitely appreciate the people who do.
No, I
the
mean,
graphics?
I said on my first episode on this podcast, I said I originally quit RS3 because they changed the graphics so much that it felt unrecognizable. But I have come around to playing on 117 because I think instead of like RuneScape 3 is so weird. Like it just like the way people even walk just doesn't feel the same. But like 117 is just like a retexturing that gives, brightness and detail to things. And I've found 117 to be hit or miss for me. For some reason, like dungeons on it look so good and anything underground looks so good. But I find that if I go to like the surface world, it's just so bright.
It is bright. I'm trying to tweak it too.
Yeah.
The contrast and stuff. And
Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
But the thing I'll say about 117 is it makes my very nice computer sound like a jet engine. Because it's made by, I believe, just one person, and they've done an incredible job with it, but they don't have the like professional optimization, I feel. And I can't play 2 accounts on 117. It's that poorly optimized, and that's nothing against them. So when I first saw that they were doing an HD client, I was like, oh come on, we already have this, blah blah blah. And then when I thought about that optimization side of it, it's like, man, it would be nice. And obviously, once again, anytime we talk about any of this, it includes mobile. So no matter how much you play RuneLite, any of this stuff is good for when you play mobile. Although that will just, I can't imagine this game draining your battery on your phone faster than it already does, but it would have to with HD turned on.
Yeah. And a lot of games, like I would, even when I played RuneScape 3, it didn't drain as much as I thought it would be. But yeah, anyways, I'm quite excited about it. I totally see what you're saying, where like RuneScape 3 is, they've done a lot to the graphics, and in a lot of ways, I don't like them either. I think the environment looks amazing. I think RuneScape 3, like just the environments and the landscapes are just so good. But any character animation, like any character models or NPCs and monsters, they all look a little weird. Which, by the way, they are working on like redoing the entire, like all the NPC or player character models. And apparently, it's gonna look really cool. I remember watching like progress vids, but long way out. Yeah, this is really exciting. I remember I made a post saying like I really like 117's. I made a comment on Reddit a long time ago that just saying that I really like 117's like the plugin. I love the way everything looks. But my dream would be for. Do you ever go on like the Steam page and you see that like banner they've made? I guess it's in Blender, but it looks like the old school RuneScape models. It just looks very clean.
I forget that RuneScape is on Steam for the most part, honestly.
I think it's the same when you open up the Jagex launcher. It's like a banner.
Yeah.
When you open up the Jagex launcher,
okay, I know what you're talking about.
Dude standing there with a whip. There's a boat behind him.
Oh yeah.
And it all has that like, that like poly. What is it? The polygrams? No.
Oh.
Anyways, it has all like the blocked, like like the way it looks. It has that RuneScape look to it because everything's all very blocky, but it looks so clean. So I said how much I loved the look of like the banners there, and I wish that like RuneScape could look like that one day. And then 117 was like, "You're gonna be very excited with what I'm working on." This was years ago. Nothing ever came out, and I'm pretty sure that whatever. But we might be getting it with this new HD look. So I'm really excited. I never really was a huge fan of the graphics. I thought they were okay. But anytime I've tried to get friends into it, that was where they stopped. They said, this game looks like shit, man. And then they play it, and they're like, it's slow. It looks like shit, and everything is all clicking. And the combat sucks. So I was like, okay.
And you're like, I agree with everything you just said.
Just play for a couple 100 hours, and you will love it, I promise. Yeah, so really cool. I'm pretty excited to see what that's going to look like. And you'll still be able to play on like the standard mode. So,
which, yeah, going back to me quitting RS3, it's like that's the key. If you don't like it, it's optional.
Mm-hmm. It looks really good. And we're going to get like skyboxes. And I'm pretty sure that they were like thinking of like one day this might enable a mode, a night and day mode, which would be cool. Let me see. Did they say that in here?
Yeah, I know one thing that's been cool with 117, they recently added a seasons mode. So when it's winter, everything will have snow on it. In the autumn, everything has this like filter on it and looks kind of, orangey. And I'm not sure what they do for spring and summer, but I do love little stuff like that. And maybe, if they want to take the route of like something like Breath of the Wild or some of these open world games where certain creatures come out at night and day, that would be crazy far down the road.
And like, you might sit there and be like, I don't want to have to like, that sucks. I can only play at nighttime. I want to like kill things in the day too, like daytime monsters. But like, you could just have it all based on where the server is located. So like,
oh, that's such a cool idea. Yeah, you go to like an Australian world because it's nighttime.
Like nighttime.
There. Yeah,
and it's in the middle of the day.
Oh, that's so interesting.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
And then you're world hopping, and then you realize that like, I gotta like make sure I'm world hopping the right
you
places.
Gotta play it on an Australian world, and yeah, I guess that's the downside of it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Anyway, I mentioned a day and night cycle. I think I got mixed up. What they pitched that they are going to be bringing is a weather system, though. Which am I more excited for that? I might be. I don't know. I like both. I hope they both come out at some point. But yeah, a weather system. What? That's going to be sick. Can't wait to see that. I remember RuneScape 3 pitched this thing a long time ago of having a weather system in their game. And they kind of do, but it doesn't do anything. But they wanted it to actually affect stuff. And they were going to bring this new like magic system where like if it was raining and you cast like an electric spell, it would do extra damage. Like they wanted it like the weather to really affect, different elements of spells and stuff, which I thought was
so
cool.
interesting.
It never came out. Yeah, it never came out, and I'm pretty sure they've just like aren't bringing it out anymore. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, I think any of the weather updates, if they do have any more than cosmetic, and same with the day and night, I think what you were saying, as long as it doesn't be tedious and prevent you from doing content, kind of maybe like only buff content, or like you're saying, certain worlds have different weather. I don't know. Honestly, yeah, that version of what we were just talking about with day and night, and if you apply that to the weather as well, that's what I want now. It's just, have it be based on what world you're on. So you can hop if you want a specific one.
So the vibe of it, like I remember playing World of Warcraft and they had a day-night cycle, and it would like I love going to the city and things felt like a little bit quieter, and the lamps were on, the like street lights were on and stuff, and it was like, oh, this is amazing. So I would love something like that.
Well, yeah, if 117 had a nighttime mode, I'd do that because it's like I said, it's always too bright.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the problem with the winter theme. It's so bright.
Yeah.
The snow is just like blinding. And the second part of this client update is also, I don't know which one I'm more excited for. I'm going to say I'm equally excited for both. They're going to be bringing out a plugin API, a plugin hub directly built into the client. So Trey, you and I could make a plugin for RuneLite, sure, but eventually we'll be able to make a plugin for the official game, which means it could be on mobile as well. I'm super stoked for this. This is like amazing. I've played tons of Skyrim, and what I love about it is how many just like player-made mods there are to sift through. And like we know how good the RuneScape community is at like stuff like this. Like we're gonna have so many sick mods or plugins to look at. Oh, it's just gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be awesome. I think they're gonna maybe they'll have tools to make it easier too. And I love the idea that they're gonna be like enabling this directly within old school RuneScape. What are your thoughts about this new plugin API, plugin hub?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, it just all depends on how they want to do it. And, I know one thing a lot of people have mentioned is, kind of like a microtransaction system. If they want to make that how plugins work, you can buy premium plugins, or will Jagex be paying the people for their plugins, which, those are kind of all questions, because all of RuneLite exists as a labor of love and passion from fans. And I think a lot of people get a little trepidatious when things like that get kind of taken over by the main creator of it, and they worry that it can get bastardized in a way. But let's say none of that happens. I think it's awesome. I think if essentially what it would turn into, at least for the first probably couple of years, is basically just porting over the plugins that we love from RuneLite. And it would probably take a year of that before most people would transfer over. Once you get your kind of essentials, your menu entry swapper and things like that, tile markers, then I think a lot of people would come over. But I do worry that there are some. I love RuneLite. I have so many plugins. I will legitimately just scroll down the plugins, like new plugins tab, and find. I love the little fun ones. Like I have recently, I've been using this one called Task Jingle that plays the GTA theme song every time you complete a Slayer task. And it just, it just has so much charm to it. Just these little dumb things, or something like that last one I was just talking about. Obviously, that couldn't exist because of probably some copyright. They can have their own music or whatever, or something like, as dumb as this sounds, I don't know if I can play on a PC without the C Engineer plugin. It does so much for me in the game. It just feels so good. So I think the conclusion to that one is that we should make our own Wilderness completed plugin. So you can say, GZ on a drop or something when you get something. But yeah, I think I would be curious to know if those like little niche plugins would make their way into it. But once again, as we always say with the official client, anything they do to the official client is for mobile, and having, oh my gosh, menu entry swapper on mobile would make life so easier. And some of those little plugins, and then you could actually have mobile optimized plugins, which would be really cool. Like things that are helpful for mobile. Like I was doing a thermonuclear smoke devil task yesterday, and it was hard because I do like a walk under method for it, and I had no, shift click walk under. So maybe they could have a plugin that gives you some kind of weight of one click, walking under something. So generally speaking, I love the plugins. I think old school RuneScape would have died out if RuneLite hadn't come along, or its predecessors, with these plugins and these quality of life optimizations. I just hope they don't just throw it all in the trash by, trying to grab money out of it or making it too restrictive so people don't want to do it.
I never considered that like they could, and they've done this on RuneScape 3 where they had this like new metrics you could look at if you want to see your EHP. All of these metrics that we get from like Wise Old Man, you can get them right off the high scores on RuneScape 3, but it's called it's slipping my mind. I forget what it's called, but like you have to pay. It's like $2 a month to pay for that plan. It's like Rune. Oh, what's it called?
Is it called Rune Metrics?
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's called Rune Metrics.
Because I know I've heard that word before. I don't know if that's what that is, but
yeah, Rune Metrics Pro. Yeah.
Yeah, just slap Pro on there, and then you got to pay for it.
So I didn't consider that, and that could be a little bit worrisome. Bethesda did that with Fallout 4 and maybe some of the newer Skyrim releases, but like I always went to, I think it's called Nexus website. I can't remember where it is, but it's like there's a website for it where you get all the mods, and it's just like a third-party site. But then they decided to take some of it in-house for Fallout 4, and it's called like the oh my gosh, it's all slipping me. I forget what it's called, and I'm recording underneath this stupid moving blanket, so it's a pain in the ass to search for things online. Creators Club or something like that. Anyway, so it's way more annoying to use versus like whatchamacallit. Like it's just you don't have as good as plugins, so I hadn't considered that.
Well, and I think that Jagex was also very clear that they're not out to get RuneLite. That RuneLite will still exist as it is, and I think that it will take some leaps and bounds of this plugin hub to make people fully leave RuneLite. So one thing that I will give to that argument is that maybe a lot of people don't realize the way that RuneLite works is it can only pull information from the game. It's not built into the game. So sometimes you might notice, like I had, I noticed a boss I was killing the other day. It said it had 36 hit points left, and I hit it for a 40 to kill it. So that it had like kind of inaccurate information because it's basing off of the game, and certain things will update within the game. Like maybe the boss restored some health or something, and it wasn't keeping track of that. But every plugin that they've added, every update they've added to mobile or to the official client has access to the Jagex servers, the Jagex code. And so it can be 100% accurate in a way that RuneLite will never be. So I think that is a huge pro of it. So I think for the sake of adding adding the plugins that we already know and love from RuneLight, I do think every time they have done that in the past, it has been better objectively. So I guess all that to say, I'm in favor of this. I just really hope that they do it right, as with everything in this game.
Doesn't get corrupted. So let me put a hypothetical in front of you. I'm curious what you would think. So this new investment firm, purchased Jagex. They own Jagex now, and they're like, listen, we need to increase profits from this game. So we want to include some form of monetization, like more monetization within old school RuneScape. So then Jagex has to look at, okay, do we increase the price of membership again? Or do we add some sort of form of microtransactions, which, well, we know how everyone feels about that. Or what if they decided, okay, we'll keep RuneLight, all the plugins will exist on RuneLight, it's all free. But what if this plugin hub will become like a RuneLight Pro? You have to pay $3 a month, kind of like what we used to do for OS Buddy. OS Buddy Pro was like $2 a month, and I used to pay for it. A lot of us did. So you now have to pay for this new RuneLight Pro, but with it, you will get all of these like way better plugins and way better features. How do you feel? Like, is that something you're okay with, or is that like, no, like you would rather see it come from somewhere else?
I think that the way I would like them to format it for something like that, if they did decide they wanted it to be an additional cost, which I would rather it just be a flat cost instead of like the App Store where it's like 99% or 99 cents for menu entry swapper or something. But I think the way I would like to see them do it is to have like a gold membership that gives you access to all the plugins, but also gives you access to, let's say, 3 accounts with membership. They had some questions about that in their survey, and I think if that was tied in with it, like if it, let's say it was double the cost of normal membership, which sounds insane, but if it gave you membership on 3 different accounts for the people like like me who play 3 accounts, that would still be a better financial option.
Yeah, even for me, like I have a ton of accounts and I don't really play them all. That I kind of bounce around. So normally I just like cancel my sub on one account, put it on another. But I would definitely pay. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure actually how I feel about it because it's tough. I guess like you got me thinking about this, like monetizing the plugin hub, and I think that is something that they very well could do. And if they're pressured to increase like revenue, I think that, or bring in if they're like, we want a new revenue stream within old school RuneScape, I think that might be one of the ways they do it because it is the safest. While also,
yeah, I 100% agree that if it's between that, what you're saying, and Squeal of Fortune and double XP weekends, I mean, 100% would be on your side for that.
Yeah, but it's also like I love the idea of this, but then it's like, oh, but this is an area that they could monetize if they ever need to. I don't know if that's where their thinking is at, but like this is like one of the safest ways they could do it, which is a little bit scary.
Right. But yeah, if they're getting pressure from above, and this is the world we live in, that we have to have more money from everything, and they have an option between something that is quality of life and something that affects the game as it is, yeah, I would hope they would go for that as a last ditch resort to keep the game as pure as possible while keeping their investors happy. But let's
interesting.
I vote neither. I think they should go half of the cost of membership and twice as many devs, but that's not the world we live in.
What I really hope that they've seen is that like a lot of us who play RuneScape are like complete like RuneScape nerds, and we will buy so many other RuneScape properties, like a board game or like another video game. If it's like a single player, I'm buying that. I'm pre-ordering that.
Dude,
just because I'm RuneScape nerd.
I ordered the
books.
I ordered one of those creator crafted neon LED signs during their live stream for the Winter Summit.
Oh, sick.
I mean, even I think they should just take the old school RuneScape system and just port it or make a version that's like maybe 1920s or just a different setting. I love, have 28 skills in a modern setting or a futuristic sci-fi setting. I would play the shit out of that.
I'd love like a Skyrim, but it was in Gielinor, and you're like in Varrock and doing all that sort of stuff. That'd be really cool. Anyways, yeah, really excited. Still very excited for this. I'm curious to see exactly, and they say it's gonna release this year, so that's crazy. When I saw both this and the HD one, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like this is insane!" On top of actual content, like that, those were like throwaways, which is like way different than the previous Summit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so very cool stuff. Trey, anything else you want to talk about when it comes to this year's Winter Summit before we do some housekeeping?
No, I'm optimistic. I think that Jagex has built up their trust in the community for the past few years, and I like I said with Varlamore, I like that they are actually able to kind of keep things a secret. And the only thing I'm actually worried about for the future of the game, besides the money side of it, would be sailing. Which they just kind of briefly mentioned, but it does seem like they're taking their time on that. So I love this game. I have a renewed love for it as of the past few days, and I think the future is bright. I do think we're in the golden age of RuneScape right now, or at least the second golden age.
That's funny. Yeah, what got a good team working on this game. Not bad. All right, cool. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back. All right, we're going to take a quick little break and head on over to the Grand Exchange. This is a segment of the show where we talk about how you can support the podcast if that's something you've been asking yourselves. So the best way to do that is by heading over to patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. We have a number of tiers that you can pick from, but of course the top tier supporters get a special thank you for supporting the show. So thank you to the Kazi, Splemo, Chris Tiernan, Flarch King, Des Sasquatch, and Colin Fitzsimmons. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. We really do appreciate it. You can also head over to buymeacoffee.com/dills instead if you prefer to make a one-time donation, even though I think you can make that on Patreon. So buymeacoffee.com/thedills if that's something you're itching to do. And last but not least, we have our own Discord server. Discord.gg/The Wilderness Podcast is how you can join that server. And we have a few members who are boosting it, whether through the Nitro program or just through their own individual payments, I guess. I don't really know. So thank you to ARH, A Crusty Spoon, Flourish, J Dog, XXV1, Kool-Aid, Myzix, and Rotenda/Sean. Thank you guys so much for boosting the server. That's discord.gg/The Wilderness. All right. Thanks everyone for the support, and let's get back into the content. All right, we are back, and guys, we still have our Speak Pipe. Wow. That's when you know it's time to wrap. We have a Speak Pipe link that you can call in and leave messages. And I saw that we did get a new message, and we will be revisiting it next episode. But we are on board time. I record these usually when my kid's napping. He's usually down for like an hour or two, which is perfect. And I just saw on our camera that my wife picked him up. So that means we gotta wrap this baby up. Yeah, if you want to send us a call, click that Speak Pipe link. Let us know what your favorite update was from 2023, or you can let us know what you're excited for the most for 2024. Or feel free to touch on anything that we talked about this episode. We also have an email, thewilderness.podcast@gmail.com. And we have a clan. Clan is Wild, WILD. Trey mentioned from the top that he hosted the first Skill and Chill board game night, and I would say it was a major success. All of us had so much fun.
Yeah, you don't have to be a high-level PVMer to fit into the clan. There's all types of people that will run all types of stuff with you.
That's right. Even if you're just a board game geek, you don't even play RuneScape. You just got to make an account and then AFK Woodcut or something while you play. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. We got a lot of cool events. We got a bingo coming up as well. So more on that later. And we have our Discord, discord.gg/The Wilderness. Trey, anything you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Nope.
Perfect. And on that note, I think the song of the week should be, we're going to play the song Oh Rats will be the song of the week. Oh Rats, which is the music track that is unlocked when you're fighting the boss Scurious. It's a pretty good song, man. The music in this game, the best. And it was by Grace Doxy. That's a new name. I don't recognize them. Trey, again, thank you as always for joining, and thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, we'll be back to talk about Trey. I don't know what we're going to talk about next, but it'll be a surprise. Take care, everybody.
Bye.